Good evening. Welcome back to the Murder Files. In this episode, we'll be going over Jack the Ripper and the case and the people who we think might have been Jack the Ripper. I'm Connor Brinkman, joined by
Roberto Hernandez.
And Alexander Hernandez.
his first victim was Marianne Nichols in White Castle, New England, at about 3:40 a.m. Um, Charles Lechmere was walking and he saw a body just face down on the ground. He thought she was just a drunk lady because of the part of the town they were in, until somebody with a lantern showed up and realized that her neck was slit and she was stabbed in multiple areas. And then the second victim, her neck was severed, but he chose to get more severe this time. He took out several organs. Um, he took the bladder, uterus, and vagina and took them from the scene. Left the intestines, kidney, and like liver spread out around the body.
I have a question.
So,
So, what type of neighborhood is this in? Is this a Section 8 neighborhood or a middle class or like a upper class neighborhood?
well, his victims were only prostitutes. So, judging by that, I would assume it was a
Low income.
more impoverished area. It's a Section 8 maybe, if you will.
I have a
But
question too.
what's up?
So, for the first victim, did they already have an idea of who a suspect might be?
Um, Honestly, they were looking into the two dudes that found her, but nothing really came of that because they were really the only two, and
Mm,
she was the first victim, so there wasn't really much to go off of.
yeah, that makes sense. It's the first
Yeah.
piece.
So then
Well,
for the third and fourth victim, the third victim, it was said that her name is Elizabeth Stride, and it was said that she was killed in a hurry because like maybe someone had interrupted the scene before Jack the Ripper could like fully like dismember or like dissect her body. But then the third and fourth victim were only within an hour of each other. So the fourth victim, Catherine Eddowes, got her neck severed, kidneys, intestines, stomach, and left her on the body. And he disfigured her face and he took her kidney from the scene.
Excuse me, all within an hour?
Yes,
are you
that
sure
shows
this
that
is not two
shows
people?
Interesting,
that
because
shows that shows that um, either he has like a medical background or is just or has some type of field that is good with knives or like anything like that.
Well, I don't feel like a surgeon can do that because a surgeon does a surgery in 17 hours, though. Could it have been multiple people?
I feel like yeah, that could have been a possibility, but
but it's weird, because how do you go from the victim within an hour of only just really being slit to just a full almost autopsy on the other person? That that's just a
well,
little
no,
more
because
questionable.
it said that the third victim was interrupted, but then the fourth, like he had time, but I don't know.
I feel like that would have to be like the placement, because if he's all doing that within an hour, then he's looking probably for several prostitutes at like the same time. He found one, I'm
Yeah,
assuming, killed her, and it was like, I probably can't do anything in this spot, so he probably just ended it there, found someone else,
And
and then just,
relocated.
yeah.
yeah, he had to rotate.
Alright, carry
So
on.
then, and then, so with like the growing like social like popularity of this, like the social eye is growing. Like people start sending letters to the police claiming to be Jack the Ripper, but most
Knockoff Jack the
the
Rippers, if you will.
the yeah, but the police write most of them off except one that was marked from hell. It's the front of the letter said from hell, and it was written in blood. And then in the letter it detailed how he well, the letter was also sent with half a human, and inside the letter it detailed how he ate the other half of the kidney. And one of the victims, the fourth victim, Catherine Eddowes, she was missing a kidney. So that's the main. That's why they believe that one is real, other
Well,
than,
did they ever figure out whose blood and whose kidney this is?
well, it was Catherine Eddowes' kidney.
Hmm. So then,
It was
was there any
her
more
blood.
victims?
Yes, there was a fifth one. The fifth was the most gruesome. He removed all of her organs, disfigured her
Oh,
face. Like she got the full Ripper rundown, if you will. It said that not even the victim's mother would recognize her after what Jack the Ripper did.
How did they identify her? The dental records?
No, they identified her because she was the only victim killed inside her own apartment. All the other victims. That's why that's why her killing was so gruesome, because bro had
he had all the time he needed.
he had all the time he could do everything, because there
She
wasn't
wasn't very
because
loud, I would assume.
people, there wasn't a fear of like a somebody walking the streets and seeing it, or like a cop walking up, or anything like that. But now that we're through all the victims, do you have any, like, just overall questions about the victims before we get into who we think it might be?
Okay,
Um,
so did these victims that Jack the Ripper had killed have similar physical features, or they were just prostitutes?
Um, no, they didn't have any similar features that I could see, but they all shared the same occupation,
and they were all women.
which seems, yeah, and they were all women, but I feel like that's a female dominated line of work in general. So, but I feel like it says something that he was only killing prostitutes. So he might like have some type of problem with women in his life. Like maybe his mom wasn't the best or something like that,
I mean, yeah,
or she
serial
wasn't.
killers do have like a messed up background. Usually, for some reason,
Yeah,
they do something.
normally.
Um,
Um, so one of the first people that they thought it was, but this one's more kind of like grasping at straws, was Prince Albert, Victoria. He was the daughter of Princess Victoria, or Queen Victoria. Wait, yeah, Queen Victoria.
The son?
but I don't. That one
Yeah.
seems interesting. A prince killing several
No, but yeah.
prostitutes.
No, but it's saying, so the reason for it's saying is because he had a child with a prostitute, and it's saying he killed all the people that knew,
But okay, but think about it. If
which
you were
I feel
just
like,
to kill someone, you would just kill them. Why would you want to take their kidneys, claim that you ate them, and just completely make them look different? That seems like a little bit
yeah,
more of a
I agree.
motive.
I agree with that one, because
That seems like a more
like,
psychological issue.
yeah, because I feel like if you were just trying to cover up a kid, you have no
'Cause
reason to like,
'cause I feel like if you're royalty,
um
you just come up with some excuse and you behead them,
yeah, because I
especially for the
honestly,
time
if you're
period.
royalty, I feel like you don't have, you wouldn't need to do that,
Oh,
because
he probably wasn't, but he could have been the
He
prince.
probably wasn't, but it could have been him. And then the next one is the is Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice in the Wonderland. It's said that he's Jack the Ripper because an anagram was pulled from some of the pages of his books that detail a confession saying he's Jack the Ripper.
Could you
But the
go more
flaw in but
specific of what an anagram is?
an anagram is like say you pulled a paragraph from a book and then you rearrange the like you can so the reason um it doesn't really like Lewis Carroll doesn't really work as a suspect is because you can make any anagram out of any string of words.
Yeah, because you're
So
just putting
like
them together and just kind of hoping that it
yeah,
forms the word.
so that's why well he's one of the more looked at suspects, which I don't understand why because like it's just an you can do it with any string of words.
Hmm. Carry on.
And then the third one, this one is it's kind of I would say this is one of the more like maybe action that could actually be Jack the Ripper. James Maybrick. He had a this was discovered really I think it was 100 years after all the killings, but a notebook was found with like a with a confession saying that they're Jack the Ripper, but the notebook was signed James Maybrick, and then he was found with a watch that had all the initials of the victims engraved in it and saying I'm Jack the Ripper with James Maybrick's name written in it.
Well, like,
But
if
I feel like that is like I feel like he's just trying to be Jack the Ripper
He's trying to be
because
an imposter from DHK.
yeah, I feel like he was just a fan in like in that regard.
well, how do you suspect if he's a fan? Because if he knows the names and has a personal signature and has a book, probably I'm assuming detailing a little more specifically of what it might be.
No, because but why? But if you were in White Castle at that time, why would you be? No, because the watch was dated too back in that time, so that meaning he would be in White Castle at that time. So why would you be walking around if while they were searching for the killer? Why would you be walking around with something saying that you are the killer with all the initials of the
Well,
killer
they found
in the
Just
it.
seems
watch?
like
They said they found
just
it a
seems like a
hundred
bunch
years
of self
later.
snitching.
Yeah, like 100 some years later.
That okay?
In
Because
a
he signed it all, okay, and then he just put it away. Because he obviously knows he
But I
can't keep
feel the
that like
jeweler who made it
lying around.
would probably report him.
But who knows?
So
Because
I
there is a
feel
possibility that he had an accomplice.
yeah, maybe.
and his
But then
accomplice happened to be a jeweler.
his accomplice was Johnny Dang. No, so and then the last suspect that this one is like the one that most people would say is Jack the Ripper. He was Charles Lechmere. That name might be familiar because it was the guy that found the body in the first place. Which that would make sense because think about it from the perspective of the guy who walked up with a lamp. All he did was see a guy standing over a body, and then he could have just said that he found it when in reality he just killed her. And then
It
also
does.
he was a butcher, so that he meaning he could just walk around with knives and have blood on his clothing, and no one would really bat an eye. And and then another one, which also this is the one that people really like tie him to Jack with, is his route to work ties really close to four of the locations where the victims were killed.
Do any
That
of these
one makes
suspects
sense.
name Jack?
You said what?
Are any of these suspects names Jack?
No. The
But where
suspects'
did he
names
get said name from?
we have an Albert, a Louis, a John, a James, and a Charles.
Mm,
Honestly, I don't know where they got Jack from.
Back to the topic.
In Yeah, back to the topic.
That one makes most
Out of
sense because if he's a butcher, he's used to cutting up organs, and he's somewhat familiar of
with like
what he would need to
anatomy,
do. Yeah,
yeah, because like it's not
but
too
weren't
much
the killings
different.
done with like surgical grade knives?
Well, no, it wasn't done with like surgical grade knives. It was done with like precision, like surgical precision and speed. So like,
but the idea of precision is a little like difficult, especially for a time period like that.
I mean, yeah. Well, that's why it's a cold case, because I feel like a lot of like of why he wasn't caught was because of the like lack of, um,
Technological
yeah,
advancement.
just like lack of, and like police forces weren't like as advanced in just in general, and serial killers weren't like a
Well, probably
common
like a too
thing.
common thing. Yeah.
They still aren't. So it's like they like those
Depending on where
that was one of the first, yeah, depending on where you're located, but he was one of the first like main serial killers. So I feel like it was a big shock to deal with it,
he
and
he
which
was
made it
someone to
harder to
put
find
serial
him.
killers on the map. Would you say?
Yeah, a real
I mean, it's probably because like if he's the first like well-known serial killer, I mean, civilization was like really like advancing during that time, and you had way more like social ability and a whole different type of climate.
And the population spike.
That one too. That's like
true.
around I think early industrial period.
1888, yeah, somewhere around there. But also a weird thing about the case is he kills 5 people and then just
Goes cold.
disappears.
Who
Like I
knows
feel
if he's
like,
just killed more, but smarter way. They never found them.
That is a possibility. Because what if he just went to just killing other people because he knows that if he stick to prostitutes, there's a higher chance that he could get caught. Because if
oh
he
yeah,
if
but
Or
like I feel like he did all the killings on like a brand. So if like he would switch people, he would keep the brand so they would
oh
recognize
like
the
his yeah
pattern.
like the recognition.
Yeah, so
or
I
he
feel like it
kept
He
wouldn't.
killing
wants like some
prostitutes
type of
in a
attention off of
different
it.
place.
Yeah,
A much more
it could have
rural
been some.
area where they don't have anything.
I mean, maybe, but like, who really knows? That's why it's still cold to this day. Everybody just comes up short when they try to look into it because all of the answers have like proper rebuttals.
I don't. I think it has to be the last guy. He fits the motive. If he has a direction, a path to literally almost to all the victims that is nearby, and is a butcher and is quite known with anatomy of an animal, has some idea of what to do to a human.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it is the last guy because like, and going to work early in the morning, he would have, and the murders were committed early in the morning, so he would have the time to just commit the murders and skip
And
on
just
to
carry out
work
his day.
exactly. Just
But
go
this
to work
is
with
in the beginning of the industrial thing, right?
yeah.
So a lot of people would be going to work in the morning, right?
That's what I'm
So I
wondering
feel like
too.
that's not
Mm.
really a thing.
But then again, so was White Castle like? Is this a big town?
It was New England, so I feel it was, and then during the industrial boom, so I feel like yeah, it was a big city.
What's the-
But I feel like that wraps up today's episode.